Devices, security, and health. These are the market megatrends that will focus the world's attention for years to come. They are the engines of progress that drive technology ever faster in a smarter world. The relentless flow of data and information in this smarter world faces the constant threat of corruption or misuse, both accidental and intentional. Which is why this smarter world, more than ever, requires more secure connections than ever before. This is the driving force behind NXP. Our businesses develop, produce, and provide secure connections in automotive, identification, infrastructure and industrial, portable and computing, and standard products. Our mission, to meet the megatrends with secure connections for a smarter world.
So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Dirk Morgenroth.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time today. What I'd like to do in comparison to the previous or the two previous sessions which we had is actually give you an overview of where NXP thinks actually some of that big data which then needs to be worked with and stored, where that actually comes from. And one of the technologies, where that will come from is the ID technology, which NXP is pushing into the market. So what is NXP about? You saw it shortly in the video just now. We are all about making this world a more trustworthy and secure world. But how do we do that? A main part of what we bring to the table is about convenience. So how do you as a consumer interact, and how will you as a consumer continue to drive large amounts of data into the cloud, into the Internet of Things, and what requirements will you have in order to make sure that that data is secure? So this is about the data you can possibly generate into the cloud and into technology. If you look at analyst reports, if you see what is happening today, it's all about connectivity. It's the heart is your smartphone. It's about making sure that we are driving and we are continuously connected. On the one side, you see typically today the smartphone connectivity applications. You're connecting other devices to the smartphone. All of this drives data as we move forward. But there are other angles of where data is being developed and driven hard. One of the areas where connectivity is increasing is on the banking side or on the governmental side. Here, the key part next to storing quite a bit of data on your card or potentially on your phone is the security aspect of driving that data forward and making it secure so that there is limited hackability options on that data, which is highly, highly required to be secured. So therefore, you have the banking industry moving to security products and electronic security products, which are now becoming more and more contactless. In health, as you see wearable electronics come more and more towards telling you, giving you information about the diagnostics about yourself, how are you feeling, there is the option to connect up to your doctor. The doctor can do a remote analysis of how you are doing. The doctor can prescribe remotely without needing for you to go to the doctor himself. He will be able to remotely prescribe to you medication. That data needs to be secure because it is your data and it is highly confidential data between the doctor and yourself. Energy systems. Energy systems today, if you take Europe, if you take the US, or if you take Asia as well, they are becoming a two-way communication system because energy is being, the manufacturing or the creation of energy is being decentralized. Your gateway your smart meter, which you have at home, is becoming a data communication hub. That data is also relevant for payment, because what you're generating as data, if you have a decentralized solar panel on your house, is money. And that's a money transaction which you might be doing with the utilities. Again, it requires a significant exchange of data, but it requires also security behind that data in order to make sure that money transaction is not being influenced in an improper way. On the mobility side, you have cars which are being now connected. European governments, US governments have just announced connectivity from car to X as laws to move forward for the future. Do you want that data to be hacked from a car to a car communication, or from a car to a hacker communication? Obviously not. So the legislation coming into place, next to the increased amount of data which is being moved, is one around security, that the data is being encrypted and handled accordingly. So where, if you take the ID type of technology, so this includes security microcontrollers, it includes RFID, it includes NFC, where do you see that on the grid of how the adoption rates are today? Clearly, being in Taiwan, you use a contactless type of card a lot today. You even potentially are using a mobile phone using NFC technology today already. Legislation in the US and in Europe is driving smart grid adoption, so that ID technology is being used again to generate a lot of the data. Cloud computing for us means, how do you connect with the cloud? How do you make it convenient to connect with the cloud? How do you make it secure to connect with the cloud, so that you have an authentication process, so whatever device you're adding to the cloud is actually the right device and is allowed to connect to that network without necessarily always needing to type in individual passwords. Wearable electronics, again, I just mentioned that earlier. It's about security, but it's about the connectivity, ease of convenience, easy setting up with the wearable electronic, with the smart device in order to share data. Then we see in Europe a trend to smart home appliances. So you want to buy a control unit, basically regulate whatever your house is doing, if you're on vacation or not, if you're at home or not. So you have a smart device which will be set up as the main hub in order to manage your heating system. It will manage your Wi-Fi system from an authentication point of view. It will manage your aircon. It will manage the lighting systems. So all of this generating a lot of data. All of this, if you then think about a Wi-Fi system or a network bus system in your house, will require security so that individuals do not hack into those solutions in order to do something wrong with your house. E-health, I mentioned already before. This is about working with your doctor or being in contact with your doctor about the right prescription, about monitoring, are you taking the right doses at the right time, and are you making sure, or are you in control of the situation you have by constant monitoring of your health at any given time, if you so want to. These technologies drive huge amounts of data. So in one of the applications around governments, passports, ID cards, etc., today passports have become totally electronic. They have become very secure. ID health cards, ID cards in general, are the next big wave to drive further data into the cloud, but also from a data consumption point. We have banking systems today and banking cards which are going as a contact solution from a magnetic stripe over to an ID type of solution into the future into a contactless type of application. China is currently on a big wave to push out dual interface solutions on banking cards. The UK just has gone from a contact-based solution. They are moving slowly over to a contactless-based solution for credit cards. The US is finally moving from their old magstripe solutions, driven by the increase in fraud on magstripe solutions, to a EMVCo-based banking card solution. And that will be finally implemented, it looks like, this year. NFC phones, if you are familiar with this type of business, you've seen some significant adoptions in the NFC technology in the phone space, in the smartphone space, and we do believe that will continue to grow. So talking about the smart card capabilities and how that will grow on the phone side. So there's been a lot of talk, if you followed the identification business, if you followed the NFC business, there's been a lot of talk of how NFC will finally be adapted in the phones. So a lot of phones already have them today. The question is, what is it being used for? And you see more and more applications coming, but the traditional applications and the initial applications of what services will be provided on the NFC phone side are clearly around what used to be, or still is, a card application. So we see trends at the moment to take and emulate your card onto your phone for banking purposes and payment purposes. We see trends that your phone becomes your public transport card in an emulated way, so that you can use that very conveniently when you go through for your payment for public transport services. You use that phone instead of your card. Access control. So you want to securely access your home. You want to securely access the hotel room. You want to securely access your office. Here trends as well to go from a card-based solution into a NFC phone type-based solution. Loyalty programs, marketing programs which you have, where you're interfacing between the phone, the brand, and the consumer in order to create a direct link between the brand and the end consumer, so you and me. And of course, you could use it for authentication, because if you've stored your credentials in a very secure way on your phone, you can use that for access to specific services where required. So, if you've been at Computex last year, right, you saw the previous slide already as well. Now, so what is changing? If you look at the applications which are coming on the phones, I think that is the significant change which you can see already today into the market. You've got payment applications, either in coffee shops or applets which are developed for specific companies for taxi services so that you can pay. That's the typical payment solution. But you have also marketing solutions in the sense of Adidas today puts a tag on every shoe when you go into the store. You can use your NFC phone, you can tab it onto the tag, and it will download data for you in direct marketing so that you become more information about the shoe. Or products which are directly linked to the shoe, which they might want to sell. This Italian company, what they've done is they don't do the marketing part of the application, but as this shoe is relatively expensive and the brand is relatively expensive. What they do is they allow you to authenticate in the store if that shoe is a genuine shoe. So what you're paying for is actually the right price because it is a genuine original shoe. If you think about the multiple applications which are there, the multiple device interactions you might have between your phone and the different reader solutions or tag solutions which you have on every object, that is a lot of data for some other companies then to store and work with. Right? It's all about connectivity, and depending on the application, it's about security. Sorry. Now I went too fast. There you go. There are a lot of phones already out today which use NFC solutions. So an estimated 200 million phones were shipped in 2013 into the market. The adoption rate is ever increasing. In 2015 alone, 50% of all smartphones will have NFC technology inside. That's the current estimation. It's moving more and more into the broad base mobile phones, so mid-range type of technology. There's a discussion around, do you need NFC and do you need security for payment? There are options which you can have, which is that if you don't need or you don't want to implement the security, you go down the route of using NFC together with an HCE type of standard, which is out there in the market. We offer the service that on top of that, you can put a secure element into the phone, which is basically like a chip which you use in governmental applications or in banking applications, in order to offer the highest standard of security on top of that. Take your tablet. So your tablet, this isn't a very old tablet. Take your tablet, it has NFC inside. What do you use that for? Obviously, you could use it for payment. And you do your transactions via your tablet on payment with your credit card if you're buying in the internet, if you need to do banking transactions. But talking of banking transactions, you might decide that in order to check, are you the right person opening up the bank account, you will want to authenticate via your ID card or via your mobile phone, which has stored your ID card, the access rights to that specific service in a very secure manner. Again, driving a lot of data. We see the mobile device and NFC included into it as the link to making things connected. I mentioned the different banking transactions, but think about how you could connect with your appliances, your consumer electronics, your healthcare solutions, or your smart meters. The connectivity is given via setting up, via the NFC interface, a Bluetooth pairing, for example. The connectivity is given up by simple tapping. A typical example of the future. It's estimated that about 400 million devices will be NFC enabled in the consumer space in your home. What do you do with it? What's the purpose? So you use your mobile phone or another NFC or ID device, for example, to authenticate yourself if you access your TV. Why the hell would you do that? Well, you might be using that for paid TV types of services. You might be using it in order to set the settings on that consumer device for kids so that they have access to the right data. You might want to use NFC on your phone in order to download and set up a Bluetooth pairing to your printer so that you can easily transfer pictures for printing. You can personalize specific consumer devices to your favorites. So you tap, you have your music playing on the speaker system, the hi-fi system at home. You don't always need the user interface, as in a display, on your consumer devices in order to have a connection and a display on that individual device. This becomes specifically apparent maybe in this application. Your mobile phone can be the display of your consumer device, and via an NFC link, you can set how that specific device should operate. You can use it for maintenance purposes. You can download via the GSM network the latest firmware in order to up and load that into the consumer device or maybe into a faulty washing machine. You use the NFC link to then download that data, ensure that the solution is working, and get the latest software into the individual device without needing to open up the internet, without connecting to a call center, without needing to wait for a repair person to come in. Needless to say, that's a lot of data which needs to be sent around. So there are many, many applications how ID technology will drive specific use cases in the industry. One thing to mention is the security part, which is becoming a more and more important topic into the market. As indicated, cloud services, you need a password to connect in. Maybe you want to do that via an authentication solution in order to drive that, in order to make it more secure, in order to use solutions which today are used by governmental or banking industries to make a highly secure type of transaction. In industrial control units, you do not want hackers to come in and start manipulating your industrial control solutions. Again, security and encrypting the data and making sure that's uniquely encrypted is what can be added to the equation. Home automation, I mentioned the metering opportunities, but think about home automation as well, that you want to set your personal settings in the house. Again, you will require security as you move forward. And I mentioned portable computing. With that, my time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morgan Roth, for your excellent presentation.